Well, today was a weird day. Today I saw more fish on my graph than I have all season long. It was unreal how many fish I marked on the graph. It was awesome. Groups stacked. 5, 6, 10, 12 fish at a time coming through on the screen. And guess what? Usually that means I get a double or triple. Today it meant nothing. I had to chase those fish around, get them to commit. I had to do, I call them crazy Ivans, where I turn hard to port or starboard, and nice little reference for Red October fans out there. But it was tough. And on those crazy Ivans, when I'd make some of my gear drop and other speed up and rise in the water column, they would chase, but I only had one time where those fish would actually commit to it. So it was just a weird day. The morning bite was fantastic, and then as the day wore on, it was not good at all. I don't know if it was the barometer changing. I don't know if it was just the fish turned off. We did actually have some red tide come in, but that's usually just the first few feet of the water column and not all the way down at depth. I don't know. It was a weird day. We ended up doing okay, not great. The best part about today was that a ton of coho showed up. Awesome. Hopefully they're starting to pile in here, and the rest of the month we'll just have a ton of coho to play with all the way through the end of September. That million plus coho, let's fingers crossed they show up. Let's see. The coho, well, for the most part, the bite was best from the bridge down on either side. It really didn't matter. Washington side, Oregon side, Church Hole, Hammond, Sawdust, Checkerboard, Marker 1, Marker 3, Buoy 10, Buoy 20, Buoy 14. Everywhere was catching fish. Didn't matter, as long as you were below the bridge, you found success. And then when the tide really started pushing in, not much happened. And what I noticed about today is that even though it was a 7-foot exchange, which is a fair amount of water, it's pretty substantial. Even during the max flood, the most amount of water coming in, I was still able to push into that current at about 1 mile an hour. So I don't think those fish really flushed up high. At the end of the day, we wrapped up at the tankers on the Oregon side, and again, fish just arced, stacked everywhere. And it was just one net here, one net there. We get a fish every pass and a half. I mean, it was mediocre. That's it. As far as what worked today, it really didn't seem, well, the one thing about today was that anything red seemed to be the key. And that probably has to do with all the coho coming in. They tend to key in on your reds and pinks and oranges. Chinook a little bit more when they're transitioning on the greens. But Red October today, that flasher was it. I ended up putting 3 of them on. That was definitely the key for today. So I'm going to be fishing a few more of those here the next few days. With these coho coming in, I'm going to change up my tactics a little bit. I'm probably going to run more Red October pawn shop flashers and just put some spin fish behind them. Those coho are just bait thieves. They are excellent at coming up and just nipping the back of that bait and pulling it right off and not getting hooked. But what's great about spin fish or any other lure that you put it behind a triangle or skateboard, a 360 flasher, is that even when they come up and nip at it, your bait's still working, so they get competitive. They start stacking up, and we got great underwater footage of this too. And the fish will come up, there'll be 3, 4 of them sitting there looking at it, and one will come up and nip at it, and then he'll either feel a hook point or not be intrigued anymore, and he wants to bail, so he'll peel off, and then another one will come up and start looking at it. And then they start getting competitive, and one of them will finally come up and commit. And if you're running anchovy or herring, that first one comes up and nips at it, that could pull the bait off, and then you're done. But if you're running a lure, they can keep nipping at it, keep chasing it, and eventually hopefully get hooked. So we'll see what tomorrow brings by going to some more hardware as opposed to bait. Yeah, we're just going to chase around some coho with how many fish came in. We should be into a good pile of coho tomorrow. Really hope so. But with that, we'll wrap up today's update. We'll see you guys again, guess what? Tomorrow. Later.